Hi everyone, this is the High School I-CAN Math Online Support. I-CAN stands for Instructional Continuity for Academic Needs. My name is Stephanie Parziali and I'm the Mathematics Program Specialist for high school. All of the program specialists have been working hard this week with a team of teachers from several different schools to figure out what remote learning looks like for high school students in Sarasota County. I've been working closely with Mike McGuckin from Riverview High on the math content, and I'm so glad he graciously volunteered his time and expertise. I definitely couldn't have done this without him, so Mike, if you're listening, please know how much you're appreciated. He's also agreed to be a point of contact for Sarasota County math teachers, so if you can't get a hold of me, please reach out to him and he'll help as much as possible. We're living in unprecedented times. Teachers, students, and families are dealing with circumstances and stress that they may not have had to deal with before. This should be at the forefront of our thinking as we plan our lessons and develop our expectations over the next few weeks, or maybe even months. Our Commissioner of Education, Richard Corcoran, used the term compassion and grace, and we want to echo that across our county. Here are a few things to keep in mind. Whatever content you thought you would provide during this time, cut it back. Then, cut it back again. Remember that students may be dealing with stress from their parents that may have been recently laid off or not working, or having to watch siblings that are also out of school. During this time, we want to focus on relationships before rigor, grace before grades, patience before programs, and love before lessons. When you communicate with your students, make sure that, above all, they know that you're here to support them. There are a few important logistics to keep in mind during this time. You may have already heard some of these, but if not, this is an important slide to revisit later on when you go back to examine key points. First, there's no state or district testing this year. No EOCs, no FSAs, and no LEOCs. If a student's unreachable or does not complete tasks, no grade will be entered for that student. You cannot assign grades less than a 70% or enter zeros into the gradebook. The district has mandated that students should spend no more than 3 hours per day on schoolwork. This allows households with multiple children but limited accessibility the opportunity to have all children complete their assignments. When broken down, this equates to about 25 hours per course per day, or approximately 2 hours per course per week. While we recommend using Apex if it's available for your course, you can ultimately choose whatever delivery method you feel most comfortable with. Content delivery method is up to the teacher, but whatever platform you decide to use on day one, you must use it for the remainder of the remote learning time. Apex has tests built in that students need to complete to continue on with the lessons, but outside of Apex, no tests should be given. The district is strongly recommending that teachers set up a Google Voice account or Remind account at this time for student communication. If you set up a Remind account, consider enabling the feature in which students can text you. Also, keep in mind that Google Voice has a Do Not Disturb feature that can be turned on after your office hours are over. Try to limit required live meetings. We can't require students to be logged on at certain times, so if you do a live meeting, please make sure you have the meeting recorded for them to access later. Reach out and stay in touch with your students often, and remember that students may be dealing with stress from factors out of their control. For days 1 through 3 next week, which is Wednesday through Friday, make sure that each day is instructionally focused, but it shouldn't require students to complete any graded assignments. On day 1, establish contact with your students and receive contact back, whether that's through Remind, a phone call, an email, or text. On day 2, introduce the platform that you're using and make sure that students can access it. On day 3, utilize the platform by having students watch Apex tutorials or provide students with a sample activity on your platform of choice. Sample lessons will be provided as well as Apex student tutorials. If you can't reach a student after the first 3 days, please contact your administrator and let them know. You may also try different means of communication, so if they're not answering email, call them, find out if there's a different email they use instead. Your initial contact should include clear expectations for daily and weekly work. You don't need to send out lesson plans during this initial contact, but let students know about the 25 minutes per day or 2 hours per week expectation. You don't need to share with them that they won't receive below a 70%, but please keep it in mind as you create and share your expectations. You'll need to share instructions on how to access the course and the materials. You need to share with students the first 3 days of tasks, when they need to contact you back, how they need to contact you back, and how they can make sure that they can access the learning platform. Finally, make sure you share your contact information and hours, your hours of availability. Whatever office hours you choose, you need to stick to. We're not dictating what those office hours should be. They can vary on different days or be consistent throughout the week, but once you set them, please abide by them. Your office hours should correspond to the number of hours required in a normal week, which for most teachers is 7 hours per day or 35 hours per week. If you don't have an established online learning management system for your classroom, keep in mind APEX is available. Right now, we're only focused on content until April 15th, and teachers are expected to plan about 2 weeks at a time. This means that on Monday, April 6th, teachers should have all the content built out through the 15th, when we will receive more information about whether or not we will continue. Please keep in mind that April 10th is a mini break, so all teachers and students are off for that day. APEX courses have been modified to reflect fourth quarter. Keep in mind that the content may not be exactly what you had planned for fourth quarter, depending on your sequence. For some students, this material may be more review, but for others, it may be new concepts. Remember to stay flexible during this time. For those courses not available in APEX, teachers will need to develop their own content. Remember to plan for 2 weeks at a time and plan for 25 minutes a day. However, also remember that students may choose to do all of their assignments in a single day, depending on when they have access, so be flexible. Continue to keep in mind that students should not receive less than a 70% and you cannot enter zeros. For teachers using APEX or for teachers not sure what they'll be using and want to know more about APEX, please continue to watch and listen. If you know for sure that you're using another platform, the rest of this PowerPoint does not apply to you. Here's how APEX works. First, let students know to use Google Chrome. Some of the applications within APEX won't work with Internet Explorer. There's a tile on MySCS, but if it doesn't work for any reason, students can log on directly through the website apexvs.com. When students log on, they'll see a list of the courses they're enrolled in. They'll click on the course that they want to work in, and it will take them to the appropriate lesson in that course. Students will go through a lesson that will teach them the content and possibly do some practice problems. Students will then have the opportunity to take a quiz, or 2 depending on how long the lesson was. It sometimes chunks it out. Students have 2 opportunities to take the quiz and pass it with a 70% or higher before they're locked out. If they get locked out, you'll need to unlock the quiz again for them. I would suggest reaching out to the student before you unlock the quiz for the 3rd attempt to see if you can help them with whatever misunderstandings they have. After the 3rd attempt, if the student still hasn't gotten a 70% or above, consider assigning an alternate assignment to help boost their grade. Remember, they cannot receive less than a 70%. Students will continue to progress through lessons and quizzes until they reach the end of the unit. At that point, they will go through a review and take a test. There's only 1 attempt on tests. These are called CSTs, or computer scored tests. These tests are locked and will need to be unlocked as students get to them. Some teachers may choose to unlock all the tests up front so that students can progress at their own pace, while other teachers may choose to monitor students' progress and unlock them as needed. It's up to you. APEX has its own gradebook, so you can use this instead of the SCS gradebook. We don't expect you to copy every single grade for every single student over to the SCS gradebook. If remote learning continues for the remainder of the year, you'll just enter a final grade into the SCS gradebook, but not individual grades. Teachers can use the tile on SCS or apexvs.com to log on. Remember to use Google Chrome. I know you're all anxious to start exploring the program, and we're working diligently to get your classes set up so that you can do that. If you haven't received your username and login information, you'll receive it very soon. Please be patient with us as we work to get everything ready for you and your students. You'll be responsible for entering your own students into your classes, and we'll send you additional tutorials and videos on how to do that and other features very soon. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. We're here to support you. Thank you for your flexibility and understanding as we navigate this together.